advanced laws of prosperity. Now, friends, the word advance, as we know, means to hasten. When you make great advances, you are hastening your goods. You're hastening results. And so the advanced laws of prosperity would be those laws that hasten results. Those laws that hasten results. Now, the advanced law of prosperity that hasten results is the prosperity secret that has been known simply as giving and receiving. The advanced law of prosperity is that your giving makes you rich. All right, we've already declared it, but let's declare it again. My giving makes me rich. Together, my giving makes me rich. Now, this isn't a new idea. The ancient Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Arabians, the Greeks, the Romans, even the Chinese, long before biblical times, knew this idea that giving can make us rich. They practiced this old mystical success secret. Now, Abraham, whom I like to think of as the first millionaire of the Bible, Abraham learned this prosperity secret from the Babylonians. His grandson Jacob mentioned it as one of the success principles he planned to use when he left home and started out to seek his fortune in a new land. Of course, Jacob did follow that success principle. The fact that he did follow it is obvious because he became one of the Bible's early millionaires. Moses later emphasized this success principle, and it was practiced by the Hebrews, who, as we know, became one of the wealthiest groups the world has ever known. They credit much of their wealth over the centuries to their use of this prosperity idea, that our giving can make us rich. Many of our modern millionaires have used this prosperity secret and have often pointed it out as the formula that brought them riches. The list includes people like the Colgate people, the Hensey soup people, the Kraft cheese people, the Rockefeller families. You remember the stories about Mr. Rockefeller giving out dimes. And so our giving can make us rich, but only if we give in a certain way. Giving can make you rich when you give systematically. Systematic giving opens the way to systematic receiving, but when we do not give, we dam up and stagnate and close many channels to our good. We block them. Now, perhaps you're thinking, well, yes, but I do give. I give every cent I can to pay bills and to keep going financially. But that's enforced giving. You see, that isn't a free kind of giving. And so there is another kind of giving that we're thinking about in order to prosper. When we practice this other type of giving, putting it first in our financial affairs, then order comes into our financial affairs and into every phase of our world. We find ourselves being prospered in both expected and unexpected ways. Our money seems to go further. Other financial surprises come to us. Somehow, everything seems easier on a financial level. Now, the ancient people who knew the wisdom of the ages understood the nature of universal substance out of which all wealth comes. They knew that by consistently giving, you move on that universal substance. You form a vacuum, which that substance then rushes in to fill with new supply. That's the nature of substance. It abhors a vacuum, and it rushes in to fill any vacuum. And so giving, in order to make way to receive, is a scientific method that works to prosper those who use it consistently. Now, this is a giving universe. We have to give constantly in order to receive constantly because the universe is constantly giving to us. If we do not balance the act of receiving by giving in some good and happy way, in a free sense, voluntarily, then the universe seems to force us to give anyway in unhappy ways. But give we must because it is the law of the universe. And so the universal law, given it shall be given unto you, works whether we want it to or not. Where there is no voluntary giving, something is taken from us. People who think that they cannot afford to give constructively and freely have to give anyway, destructively and involuntarily. They are the ones who have to give to the doctors and the hospitals for their ill health. They have to give to the lawyers for their accidents, for their legal and business problems. They have to give to accountants and to Internal Revenue for their income tax problems, and in many undesirable and in many unhappy ways. And see, so if you do not give voluntarily of your financial resources, you can expect the substance of the universe to get dammed up in your affairs. If you do not give voluntarily of your financial resources, you can expect that bodily ailments, financial entanglements, human relations problems, and general confusion will follow in your affairs. Now, when you see a person who has constant problems of all kinds, when you see a person who has constant problems of ill health, financial difficulties, family inharmony, general confusion, and dissatisfaction in their lives, not only are they not thinking right and not talking right, but they're not giving right either. And so where there is no voluntary giving, something is taken from them anyway. We cannot cheat the basic law of the universe, which is giving and receiving. It works regardless of our misworking it. We can only cheat ourselves out of much health, wealth, and happiness by trying to bypass it or by bypassing it. Someone has called this great law of life the great law of give and take. Give and then take. Claim your goods, you see. And so how can we practice the other type of giving constructively so as to avoid having to give destructively? Well, the ancient people believed that the number 10 was the magic number of increase. They invoked this magic number by regularly giving 1/10 of all channels of their income to their leaders, their religious leaders, their priests and so on, to their tabernacle and to their temple. Now, the Hebrews were required to give 1/10 of all channels of income for these purposes. And this included giving 1/10 of everything, their gold, their silver, their jewels, their cattle, sheep, flocks, 1/10 of fruit, grain, oil, crops, financial income, and assets of all types, because they felt that this was a universal law. Now, the first instance of tithing recorded in the Bible occurred when Abraham gave his tithes to the priest of Salem. And it's so interesting that after Abraham had given that tithe, he was made a very interesting promise, a promise of riches and prosperity, a promise of protection from the negative experiences of life. Jehovah said, "Fear not, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward." I am thy shield. I will protect you from the negative experiences of life, and I am thy exceeding great reward. I will prosper you abundantly, not a little bit, exceeding great reward. It's a marvelous prosperity promise for anyone who uses this same prosperity law today. And so 10 is still the magic number of increase. Now, to help remind you of the power of that number 10, we have placed in your prosperity kits the little card that says 10, the magic number of increase. And so it's just a reminder of this marvelous old prosperity law. 10 is still the magic number of increase. And so let's declare it. 10 is still the magic number of increase. Together. 10 is still the magic number of increase. Good. One of the wealthiest men who ever lived, of course, was Solomon. And he made an interesting prosperity promise, too, when he said, "Honor Jehovah with thy substance and with the first fruits of thine increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy vat shall overflow with new wine. Again, there's abundance, you see. We weren't promised just a little bit. Thy barn shall be filled with plenty, and thy vat shall overflow with wine. And so this is really one of the laws of prosperity, the laws of abundance. It is the advance law. It is the law that advances or hastens or steps up our good. Now, the idea that the story that has meant so much to me, and the story that started me tithing many years ago at a time when I couldn't afford to tithe, but I couldn't afford not to either because I needed the prosperity law to work for me in a wonderful way. And so if you'll take the little booklet, As You Tithe, So You Prosper, and look at page 40, and I love this story. At the bottom of page 40, he who said he found it necessary to tithe in order to get out of debt voiced a truth that has become evident to thousands. A man who was $10,000 in debt with his credit gone and a wife and 4 children for whom to provide took a position as a day laborer in a mill, and with his family was compelled to live in a tent. He met 2 divinity students who convinced him that he should tithe. The same week that he began tithing, the company offered him one of its houses in which to live. Within a year, he was promoted to foreman. 10 years later, he was free from debt, the owner of a large lumber company, owner of his own home, which was large and beautifully furnished, and of a large car, also an airplane and other things on a similar scale. He attributes his success to first recognizing his debt to God and faithfully tithing of his income. Tithing establishes order in our mind, body, and affairs. When order exists, we cannot remain in debt. He who first begins to tithe while in debt invariably reports later that he is free from debt. Now, you will love this little book because it has